When people hear the phrase concentration camp, they usually think of Europe in World War II. But long before that, right here in the United States, thousands of people were rounded up, confined, and forced into brutal labor camps across the South. This wasn't ancient history. It happened after slavery ended under a different name. And the system was so profitable, it gave the state and private companies a reason to keep it going. This is the story of convict leasing and chain gangs of machinery that many historians describe as slavery by another name. In 1865, the Civil War ended. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery except for one phrase that changed everything. Forced labor was still legal as punishment for a crime. That exception clause became a doorway. Because once slavery was illegal, the South's economy faced a huge problem. Plantations, railroads, mines, and construction projects had all been built on forced labor. So the question became, how do you rebuild a labor force without calling it slavery? The answer was simple: cold and legal. Criminalize, arrest, convict, and lease. After Reconstruction began, many southern states passed laws that made everyday life a legal trap, especially for Black Americans. Vagrancy laws could punish you for being unemployed. Loitering could mean jail. Minor offenses, somatim as Evan, not having proof of work, could become crimes. Then came the courts, fast trials, all-white juries, little defense, and heavy fines. And here's the twist. If you couldn't pay your fine, the state could sentence you to labor. So poverty itself became the pipeline. You didn't need to do something violent to disappear into the system. You just needed to be poor and in the wrong place. States quickly discovered they could lease prisoners to private companies, sawmills, farms, and especially coal mines. It was a business model. The state made money by renting people out. Companies got cheap labor, and the prisoners many arrested for minor charges had almost no protection. And because the workers were leased, companies had a terrifying incentive. If a prisoner died, they could simply lease another. Survivor accounts and historical investigations describe overcrowded starvation diets, rampant disease, brutal beatings, and deadly working conditions. This was not a prison system focused on rehabilitation. It was a labor system focused on profit. And it spread across the South, locking thousands into camps and work sites that functioned like industrial cages. As the years went on, another image became a symbol of Southern power. The chain gang, men often black shackled together, forced to build roads, clear land, and do backbreaking work in the open. It wasn't just about labor, it was about fear. If people saw a chain gang on the roadside, they got the message. This is what happens when the system decides you are disposable, and the system could decide that he's a lease. Even when convict leasing was criticized or banned in some places, the logic survived. Keep prisoners working, keep costs low, keep control high. So why don't most people learn this in school? Because this story forces a brutal truth. Slavery didn't simply end and disappear. In many ways, it transformed. This system helped rebuild Southern infrastructure and industry. It produced wealth for states and corporations, and it reinforced a racial order by turning policing and courts into tools of labor control. It is not a comfortable chapter for a country that wants a clean before and after ending to slavery. So for decades, it stayed in footnotes while the damage echoed forward. If you only remember one thing, remember, tease after emancipation, freedom was real but fragile, and the law created a loophole big enough to swallow thousands of lives. Convict leasing and chain gangs weren't just punishment. They were an economy. They were a warning. And they were a system that many historians call slavery by another name. Follow for more American history stories that were rarely taught because some chapters weren't forgotten. They were protected.